Good morning. I'm Alicia Kelso. I'm on the show floor. Day one in Chicago. I'm with Laurie, Schalow, the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at Chipotle. I am so excited because we actually met when you were young.
Yeah, back a long time ago.
Yeah, when you still lived in Louisville. Yeah. And I think this is only the second time, though, that we've seen each other in person. We've done plenty of phone interviews, so thank you for joining me. Especially on the heels of another tremendous quarter. It seems like you guys are really rocking and rolling over there.
Thank you. Yes, we had a great first quarter and hoping it continues.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some of the momentum and where it's coming from. I think I mentioned to you earlier. I've been diving into this throughput culture that the leadership team has created throughout the past couple of years coming out of COVID. How has that impacted, staffing levels and vice versa to get us where we are now on the heels of a really successful quarter?
Yeah. Well, first of all, throughput is what's really important to us, right? Like how quickly we can move individuals through the line. When you get to a Chipotle restaurant, you see the line out the door. You're like, oh, do I want to turn around? But everyone knows it moves quickly. So throughput has been a main focus. And I have to give credit to Scott Boatwright, who's our Chief Operating Officer. A couple of years ago, he said, let's get back to the basics. Like, let's focus on just the key fundamentals of operations. And so we did that and really saw a lot of improvements. But then our doubling down on throughput the last, say, 6 months or so has really made an impact.
Okay. And it seems like every single quarter you're doing something new to sort of contribute that, whether it's adding a new technology or a new, I can't remember what it's called, like a testing system so employees can see how they're doing.
Yeah.
How has that impacted, I guess, morale in the store?
Yeah, I think that, we are very fortunate in the industry. Turnover tends to be very high, especially among hourly employees. We are seeing the best levels of turnover that we've seen in years, maybe ever. So I think it's working, but I think it's a combination. I think it is important to have a great culture in your restaurant, that you're working together as a team, that you are fully staffed, that the teams feel supported. But the morale is very high. It's very good right now.
What is contributing to that staffing, that retention?
I think a lot of things. Like I said, one is people like to work for a brand that they're proud of, and, they want to work for a brand that has a purpose, which we're very fortunate that, our founder, created Chipotle years ago, and that was important, and that remains important today. But also benefits, great pay, like I said, a great place to be. People are excited to go to work. It's their second family for a lot of people.
You transitioned very seamlessly. Thank you so much for making my job easier. But I do want to talk about the employee proposition. We've had several conversations about this, especially in the past year. I did some research before RLC when I spoke about this on a panel that job listings in the restaurant industry, it was like a triple-digit increase in mentions of PTO just in the past year. It was like a 50-some% increase of mental wellness for restaurant job listings just in the past year. You guys have been a huge leader in this space. Well before the pandemic, you guys were coming out with benefits that were industry-leading, really. Tell me how those benefits have sort of evolved, especially after the pandemic when employees are demanding this stuff and expecting this stuff even more.
Yeah, I think, benefits, you're right, today are more important than ever. And it's not just your traditional benefits that we used to think of just, health benefits, medical, basic things. Sure, paid time off and sick leave. And we did have some of those great benefits. But now you're hearing about mental health benefits and financial, health as well. So I think it's a lot more than just traditional. And what we've done, I say we have the best in the industry, great benefits. But what we make sure we're doing is talking to our employees. So for example, right now, we're just kicking off what we call a culture survey or pulse survey, where we reach out to all of our 120,000 employees to the hourly restaurant level as well and ask them about our benefits. So what do you like about our benefits? What are you using? What would you like to see? And we have very unique benefits, from pet insurance, adoption, to financial, debt-free degrees, building your credit, you name it, we have that. And not only for our employees, and I think this is unique too, but also for the families of our employees. We offer, you talk about mental health. So we offer employee assistance programming for not only the employee, but their family. English, to learn English as a second language, not only to our employee, but also to their families. So extending those benefits we found has been very important to our.
And that survey guides, do you change your benefits?
Yes.
Maybe, how do you prioritize? How many employees?
Yep.
I know that you just added one, and your release was specifically mentioned because the bulk of our workforce is Gen Z. So tell me, how this informs you, how you adjust and prioritize your time and resources.
I'll give you a good example. So we have our head of benefits is an amazing guy who is constantly looking and seeing what's out there, but he's also monitoring what are people using throughout the year. And so like most companies, we go through an open enrollment in the fall.
Yeah.
And so as we lead up to that, he's saying, okay, are there any benefits we want to take off of the suite of options? And what do we want to add? And the one thing that we hear time and time, and you probably hear this, is paying off, college debt.
Sure.
So we found a way to help. And what we also found is that employees were so focused on paying off college debt that they weren't saving for their own retirement and for their future. So we found a way to, message that and work that in with our 401k so that they can do both, right? So we help them, pay off their debt and build for the future.
Okay. I think you were one of the first companies to actually call the student debt issue out. There are a couple smaller ones, but it seems like, as you are a benefits leader in this industry, it seems like that would come with some kind of responsibility, because as Chipotle goes the industry. So how do you recognize what needs to happen next and adjust accordingly? Is it just that survey? What are you looking at to make sure that you know what your employees want and need?
I think it's a combination, but first and foremost, it is our employees. We also have the benefit that we're all company owned. So we own and operate all of our restaurants. So the 120,000 employees, we can speak directly to them and get their feedback. And to be honest, that's what's most important. Yeah. They tell us what benefits they want. We want to offer those benefits to not only retain them, but attract, new employees to come and stay with us. But also, I think it's our benefits director looking out among the industry and seeing, hey, what's new, what's coming up, what trends are they seeing, and then pairing that together. And sometimes we'll even, offer ideas to our employees and say, what do you think about these benefits? Or, if you had an option, what would you pick?
How often is that survey roll?
It's about every other year.
Every other year.
We do the pulse survey, and it's not always focused on benefits. It'll have different, type questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 50-to-1 stock split is something well above my pay grade of understanding. But if we were to distill it, essentially, it's that accessibility, right?
Yes.
To give employees some ownership or some skin in the game.
Yep.
Tell me how that sort of manifested and why this was such an important priority for you.
So we hold quarterly town halls with all of our employees, and almost every quarter we get the question of, when are you going to split the stock, right? And when our stock is trading around $3,200, dollars per share right now, it's not obtainable for most people. You don't have, $3,200 to buy one share, and you can't always buy fractional shares. So it's out of reach, out of touch for most people. So we started to hear more and more about that. And when our CFO really started to dig into the employee benefit of it, that's when it became serious. That, this is something we should look into, and it really has paid off. And so we just announced our stock split, which will be happening. Our shareholders will approve that hopefully in June, and then we will begin trading the new stock price on June 26th. But it's going to be great. It'll just, like I said, make it more accessible for our employees, which is really important to us.
And you anticipate that. You anticipate more employees.
Definitely, right. And what we also wanted to do was to give all of our restaurant general managers and our employees that have been with us for 20 years or more a stock grant. Okay. So that'll be happening as well as part of the stock split.
Okay. I want to shift a little bit and just kind of touch on ESG, because I know that this has historically been important to Chipotle as one of the founding principles of the company. It has been under fire a little bit. Some pressures, on the market, some investor pressure. So I'm curious to know, have you adjusted your strategy according to that pressure, or have you, how are you reacting to some of these, I guess, extraneous forces?
We really haven't changed our strategy. I mean, like you said, we were, founded on principles of cultivating a better world and food with integrity. So we have long-term and short-term goals that we're committed to. And those are focused, we look at 3 areas. It's people, food, and the environment. And so we continue to have our goals in those areas. We have our science-based targets to reduce emissions, so we plan to continue with that. We do talk to shareholders quite a bit, and they still ask us a lot about ESG and want to hear what we're doing. And I think our consumers, as well as our employees, want us to stay focused there too.
Okay. Hey, how has that work shifted the focus? You mentioned carbon emissions reduction. Mm-hmm. I know that's become a bigger piece of the puzzle lately because it seems like more attainable of a goal, whereas maybe when I first started covering the industry, it's kind of all over the map. We're going to do this and this and this and this. Have you noticed more concentrated focus to be more impactful here, or how have you adjusted?
Definitely. I think it's important for anyone to set fewer goals, right, and obtainable goals. So, for example, we do not have a net zero goal because I don't know that I don't have a roadmap to get us there today. However, we did set a 50% reduction goal, and we do have paths it's not easy, it's hard to do. But I think it's important to have a few goals you can really focus on and deliver versus trying to, as I say, boil the ocean. But also what we did is we looked at what were the most, emissions intensive parts of our business, and that's where we're focusing. So I do think that things like science-based targets and other initiatives are helping companies to focus and then hopefully deliver the results.
Okay. How big of a priority is that that ESG piece as it applies to your Cultivate Next funds?
Oh, great. That's a great question. So Cultivate Next Fund is, it's now a $100 million investment funded by Chipotle. And we are constantly looking for new startups, early, series type companies. And a lot of it is focused in the agriculture space because, we want to double the number of restaurants that we have, which means to meet our food with integrity, we need more local sourcing. We need more farmers. And farming is, unfortunately aging up, and we need more people to stay in farming. So looking at regenerative practices, looking at new technologies, more sustainable practices, so it'll help more farmers to meet our goals.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I know that your priorities with Cultivate Next are the farming piece and the throughput.
Right. Technology.
Because
right.
Nobody wants to make guacamole.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, our employees actually love making the guacamole. They like mashing it in the finished product, but what they don't like is the cutting and the coring and the peeling and the scooping. So that's another part of the fund, which is focused on technology advancements. And right.
I'm excited to see the avocado and the hyphen actually make their way into restaurants this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Hopefully this year. So you have to come out to California and we'll have to take a look.
You'll have to have me out to California. You heard it. Final question. You mentioned you wanted to double. We want to get to 7,000, right? And 4 million AUVs. You're just above 3 million now.
Correct.
How do you maintain all of this stuff that we just talked about? This Chipotle ethos that you were founded on, everything that you've prioritized from a workplace standpoint, from an ESG standpoint. How do you do that while doubling your system?
I think you keep it simple and you stay focused on, the culture that we have from the top down, and our beliefs, our values, our purpose, and our mission, and just stay focused on that. And then, like I said, we have that advantage of owning and operating all of our restaurants here in the U.S. so that we can make sure that our systems and our procedures are followed. And then it's just taking care of our employees, and offering these great benefits, looking for enhancements in technology to make their jobs easier, provide them with opportunities for advancement and growth. I mean, with those restaurants we need more managers, we need more field leaders, so tons of growth opportunities at Chipotle.
What are you most excited about?
Growth and our international growth. So we just opened our first restaurant with the Alicia group in Kuwait, and this is the first franchise agreement for us and really our first outside of North America, Canada, and Europe, our international expansion. So I think that there's a lot of growth ahead of us.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun to cover. Well, I appreciate your time, Laurie, and good luck.
Great. Thanks. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, me too.